ini G20 kita udah mulai nih. Enggak, ini virtual webinar.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, dan salam sehat selalu. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Brigita Manohara, your MC and moderator for today's seminar, Empowering Women Entrepreneurs Through Inclusive Business, which will be broadcasted online via 3 streaming media, Webex, Zoom, and YouTube Kemenkop UKM. Today's event is based on appointment of Indonesia as the host of the 2022 G20 Summit, Recover Together, Recover Stronger. The Ministry of Cooperative and SMEs support this initiative with the main theme of Recover with SMEs. Today's activity is a form of support from the Ministry of Cooperative and SMEs in supporting ongoing G20 activities. Taking into consideration of the Empowering Women Entrepreneurs initiative titled Empowering Women Entrepreneurs Through Inclusive Enterprises. Ladies and gentlemen, using information and data collected, numbers show that women-led businesses has increased by 114% over the last 20 years. In fact, 72% of female entrepreneurs are between the age 40 and 59. Before we get into our main event, let me introduce today's honored speaker. Good evening to the Honorable Mr. Teten Mas Duki as Minister of Cooperatives and SMEs Republic of Indonesia. The Honorable Mrs. Bintang Puspayoga as Minister of Women Empowerment and Child Protection. Mrs. Siti Aziza, Deputy Minister of Entrepreneurship, Ministry of Cooperative and SMEs. Mrs. Adriani Uli Silalahi, Chair W20 Indonesia. Mrs. Ira Noviarti, Chair of B20 Indonesia Women in Business Action Council, Mrs. Anna Maria Tartaglia, W20 Delegate from Italy, Mrs. Marta Perez Cuso from UNSCAP, Mrs. Licia Erza, SME Committee Apindo, Mrs. Diana Oktari from ASIC Holding Pte Ltd, Mrs. Gita Syahrani from Lingkar Temu Kabupaten Lestari, Mrs. Atika Benedikta Angin from Angin, and of course, all participants who join this event. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now stand and together sing the national anthem of Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, for the smooth running of today's event, Mr. Siddiq will lead us into prayer.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good evening to all of you from Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, in Indonesia traditions, we always believe that the success of the event can only be achieved while we have a blessing and permissions from our God. Therefore, In order to have a wish for the event to be successful and giving positive contributions to women entrepreneurs, in these occasions, allow me to lead the prayers in Islamic way. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi Sayyidina Muhammad. Ya Allah, we are now conducting the seminar on empowering women entrepreneurs through inclusive business. We do hope the successful of the event will give a significant contributions to support women participation in inclusive business development. We believe today's event can only be done successfully with your blessing. We wish Indonesian presidency in G20 will also contribute to the milestone of the post-pandemic of global economic recovery, increasing women roles in participations of entrepreneurship and encouraging gender equality. Ya Allah, we wish your blessing and please allow us to recover together, recover stronger. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. May God bless G20, may God bless Indonesia, and may God bless us all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Siddiq, for your prayer. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mrs. Siti Aziza, Deputy Minister of Entrepreneurship of the Ministry of Cooperatives and SMEs, to say a few words. Please, Miss Siti Aziza, the floor is yours.
Yang saya hormati Menteri Koperasi dan UKM Republik Indonesia, Bapak Teten Mas Duki. Yang saya hormati Menteri Pemberdayaan Perempuan dan Perlindungan Anak Republik Indonesia, Ibu Bintang Puspayoga. Yang saya hormati Chair W20 Indonesia, Ibu Hadriani Uli Silalahi. Yang saya hormati para pembicara dan delegasi G20, khususnya delegasi Engagement Group W20 dan B20, serta seluruh peserta seminar yang berbahagia. Pertama-tama saya ucapkan selamat datang kepada seluruh peserta yang telah bergabung dalam acara seminar Empowering Women Entrepreneurs Through Inclusive Business secara virtual pada malam hari ini. Kegiatan hari ini adalah bagian dari agenda besar Kementerian Koperasi dan UKM dalam memprioritaskan UKM Indonesia sebagai penerima manfaat dalam presidensi G20 Indonesia dengan kolaborasi berbagai pihak untuk pemulihan bersama UKM. 3 tema yang diangkat yaitu adalah pemberdayaan wirausaha perempuan, keterlibatan UKM dalam ekonomi hijau, dan dorongan digital ekonomi bagi bisnis UKM. Kami berharap dalam presidensi G20 Indonesia kali ini dapat tercipta investor matchmaking, dukungan terhadap pelaku usaha minoritas, baik perempuan maupun disabilitas, ekosistem mapping, dan katalog produk UKM sektor potensial. Salah satu langkah nyata pada kegiatan malam hari ini, peserta dapat melihat ada barcode selama acara berlangsung, di mana merupakan katalog produk UKM unggulan dengan komoditas wellness berupa produk herbal dan spa. Dalam pelaksanaan seminar pertama ini, kami menggandeng beberapa pihak, tidak hanya engagement group utama Women 20 atau W20, tetapi juga kami mengajak Business 20, B20, beserta komunitas dan asosiasi yaitu Lingkar Temu Kabupaten Lestari, Apindo, ASICS, Angel Investment, untuk juga organisasi internasional UNESCAP untuk turut mengisi acara pada malam hari ini. Peserta yang hadir dalam kegiatan juga hadir dari berbagai latar belakang, yaitu perwakilan pemerintah pusat, pemerintah daerah, akademisi, pelaku usaha, bisnis, asosiasi, komunitas, inkubator, juga para pendamping dan mentor dari UKM. Bapak Ibu sekalian, side event kali ini Kementerian Koperasi dan UKM mengangkat topik utama wirausaha perempuan dan bisnis inklusif. Topik ini diangkat berdasarkan peran perempuan yang berdampak besar dalam menanggulangi dampak pandemi dan penciptaan lapangan kerja, serta berperan dalam pertumbuhan ekonomi yang berkelanjutan. Terakhir, saya ucapkan terima kasih dan saya berharap diskusi pada hari ini dapat membawa manfaat dengan pengalaman yang telah dijalankan oleh Indonesia dan masukan serta sharing dari delegasi G20 lainnya, dapat merumuskan rekomendasi kebijakan atau langkah strategis untuk meningkatkan peran wirausaha perempuan dalam pemulihan dan kebangkitan ekonomi nasional maupun dunia. Kami mohon maaf apabila ada yang tidak berkenan, dan tentunya terima kasih sekali lagi kepada seluruh peserta, seluruh narasumber. Good evening and good morning to all of you.
Thank you, Mrs. Siti Aziza. As explained by the Deputy for Entrepreneurship, at this seminar session, a QR code will be displayed for health community products, namely herbs and spas, whose market trends are increasing during this pandemic. Please, the participant can download and see the superior products of Indonesia SMEs. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Adriani Ulisi Lalahi as Chair of W20 Indonesia.
Your Excellencies, His Excellency Teten Mas Duki, Minister of Cooperative and SMEs, Her Excellency Bintang Puspayoga, Minister of Women Empowerment and Child Protection, Ibu Siti Hazizah, Deputy Minister of Entrepreneurship, Minister of Cooperatives and SMEs, my dear sister, Anna Maria Tardaglia, W20 Delegate Italy, and all honorable speakers who represents various remarkable organizations such as UNESCAP, B20, Apindo, LTKI, Angin, and ASIC. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, allow me to welcome everyone who is participating in the seminar on empowering women entrepreneurs through inclusive business in collaborations with the Minister of Cooperative, Small and Medium Enterprises. W20 puts women MSMEs as one of the 4 priority issues that we bring to the G20. Women in Indonesia play a major role in MSMEs. In Indonesia, SMEs provide 67% of employment creations. Thus, women play a huge role in the creating jobs or becoming self-employed. Out of all MSMEs in Indonesia, 62% are owned by women in micro level. It is clear that women's role as entrepreneurs need to be empowered, since it means supporting a huge percentage of women. However, we see challenges for women entrepreneurs. There is a lack of financial literacy, access to credit and investments, and also challenges to enter public procurement. Therefore, we really appreciate and are excited for the collaboration between W20 as an engagement group and the Minister of Cooperative and SMEs, government's representations, to make a concrete action in supporting women entrepreneurs in order to achieve a more inclusive business practice. I really hope our event today will bring insight and benefit to discourse of women entrepreneurs in G20 economies. Hopefully, moving forward, we will see more commitments being shown by governments, associations, business owners on women-owned and women-led business support. Let's put recover together equally as the forefront in the achievement of G20 efforts towards gender equality and women empowerment. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Mrs. Hardriani Olisilalahi, for your speech. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, moving forward, let us welcome the Honorable Mrs. Bintang Puspayoga, Minister of Women's Empowerment and Child Protection.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Good evening from Jakarta. Honorable Bapak Teten Mas Duki, Minister of Cooperative and Small and Medium Enterprises, Republic of Indonesia, Ibu Hadriani Olisilalahi, Chair W20 Indonesia, Ibu Dian Siswarini, Co-Chair W20 Indonesia, resource person, participant, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, please allow me to express my sincere appreciation to all distinguished speakers and participants joining us today in this event. With so many experienced speakers and participants bringing their outstanding expertise and best practices around the table, I hope this event could contribute to solid policy recommendation in empowering women-led and women-owned MSMEs. Ladies and gentlemen, in most parts of the world, MSMEs are the backbone of the national economy. In Indonesia, around 64 million MSMEs currently account for 99% of our total existing business units, contribute to 61% of our total GDP, absorb 97% of our workforce, and secure 60% of our total investment. Women play a crucial role in MSMEs. Our statistics show that women manage and own more than half of the MSMEs in the country. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, women-owned and women-led MSMEs experience the harshest impact. Still, they are also one of the most critical drivers for economic recovery and long-term economic stability. Therefore, supporting women's economic empowerment should be highlighted as part of the national and global strategy to bounce back from this horrendous crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, from 2020 to 2024, the President of the Republic of Indonesia has mandated 5 priority programs on women empowerment and child protection. The first priority is to increase women's empowerment in gender-responsive entrepreneurship. We believe that this first priority holds great importance in accelerating the success of the other 4. Our ministry is currently focusing on women who experience double discrimination, such as underprivileged women, women heads of household, and women survivors of violence and disaster. Economic empowerment means so much more than earning a living, especially for these women. Economic empowerment set their path toward freedom from discrimination. Financially independent women will also improve family welfare, improve access to nutrition and better education for their children, give women the means to prevent and access abusive relationship, and reduce the risk of child exploitation practices and child marriage problems that often arise because of poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, in Indonesia, the larger the size of the business, the lower the proportion of women entrepreneurs. Most women entrepreneurs run informal small-scale, even home-based businesses portraying gender inequality. Data from the Ministry of Cooperative and SMEs reveals that only 34% of women own and manage medium enterprises. The percentage is bigger when it comes to small enterprises, which is 56%, and micro enterprises, which is 52%. Mainly working inside of the home, these women are wearing the brunt of unpaid care work, limiting time for productive work. Other barriers that women entrepreneurs are facing are lacks of access to finance, ICT, and digital literacy programs, aspects that are necessary for long-term business growth. Ladies and gentlemen, the newly released presidential regulation on national entrepreneurship development provide guidance on how to help MSMEs grow to the next level. The National Strategy on Financial Inclusion has also mandated relevant stakeholders to make women one of the main targets of inclusion. It is then strengthened with the freshly enacted National Women's Financial Inclusion Strategy. To improve financing, the government of Indonesia has disbursed smallholder business credit and assistance programs for micro businesses, including for women entrepreneurs. We developed a specific financing program targeting underprivileged women who run micro and ultra-micro businesses, known as the MEKAR programs, are fostering the economy of the prosperous family. We also collaborate with NGOs and private sector in business digitalization and digital literacy training for women. During the pandemic, we have succeeded in facilitating 8.4 million Indonesia MSMEs, including 54% owned by women, to enter the digital ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, as the host of the G20 presidency, Indonesia has chosen the theme Recover Together, Recover Stronger. In line with this theme, we strongly encourage the global community to ensure women's full and effective participation in the global economic recovery plans and actions. When women are empowered and children are well protected, prosperity will be available for all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi 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 Om. Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you for the Honorable Mrs. Bintang Puspayoga, Minister of Women Empowerment and Child Protection. Ladies and gentlemen, and all distinguished guests, furthermore, let us welcome the Honorable Mr. Teten Mas Duki, Minister of Cooperatives and SMEs of the Republic of Indonesia, to provide direction and remarks for today's event.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Yang saya hormati Menteri Pemberdayaan Perempuan dan Perlindungan Anak Republik Indonesia, Ibu Bintang Puspayoga, para pembicara delegasi W20, serta seluruh peserta seminar yang berbahagia. Salam dari Indonesia. Pertama-tama saya ingin mengucapkan selamat Hari Perempuan Internasional yang jatuh pada tanggal 8 Maret lalu. Hari ini merupakan hari yang spesial karena kita dapat bertemu secara virtual untuk berdiskusi terkait strategi yang tepat untuk mempromosikan wirausaha perempuan melalui inklusi bisnis. Pada level global, merujuk laporan riset Global Equality Index yang dilakukan oleh Bloomberg, kepemimpinan perempuan di dunia usaha terus mengalami peningkatan. Perempuan tidak lagi dipandang sebagai pendukung ekonomi secara pasif, karena dalam kasus, perempuan justru mampu menjadi tulang punggung keluarga. Selain itu juga berkembang gerakan tentang kesetaraan gender yang memiliki tujuan agar perempuan semakin meningkat kontribusinya dalam perekonomian tanpa adanya bias gender. Indonesia memiliki lebih dari 64 juta UMKM yang berkontribusi terhadap PDB sebesar 60%. Dari jumlah tersebut, 64% pelaku UMKM adalah perempuan. Sehingga bagi Indonesia, memberdayakan UMKM berarti juga memberdayakan perempuan. Peningkatan peran perempuan perlu didorong ke dalam pengarus utamaan kebijakan terkait UMKM, di mana perempuan tidak lagi ditempatkan sebagai pemain sekunder atau pelengkap, tetapi menjadi pemain inti dalam keberlangsungan UKM. Memperhatikan cross-cutting isu perempuan, Kementerian Koperasi dan UKM berkolaborasi dengan Engagement Group Women 20 serta Business 20 tersebut dilakukan untuk meningkatkan kesetaraan dan kesejahteraan melalui kebijakan yang ramah gender serta mencapai inklusi ekonomi dengan mendukung UMKM yang dimiliki dan dikelola oleh perempuan. Sebagai presidensi G20, Indonesia memberikan banyak kesempatan bagi para pelaku UMKM, khususnya UMKM perempuan, di mana terdapat 3 subtema terkait UKM yang telah diangkat. Di antaranya peningkatan peran wirausaha perempuan, keterlibatan UKM secara aktif dalam green economy, serta akselerasi UKM di era digital. Pada side event kali ini, Kementerian Koperasi dan UKM mengangkat topik utama wirausaha perempuan dan inklusi bisnis dengan agenda utama pemulihan ekonomi yang solid dan berkelanjutan. Wirausaha perempuan juga membutuhkan dukungan dari pemerintah, baik berupa akses pembiayaan, dukungan ekspor, pengembangan dan pelatihan bagi karyawan, peningkatan kualitas produk, hingga dukungan infrastruktur khususnya di area pedesaan. Akhir kata, selamat berdiskusi. Saya berharap seminar ini dapat memberikan pembelajaran dan rekomendasi dalam meningkatkan kontribusi perempuan melalui berbagai pengalaman yang didapat dari Indonesia maupun negara-negara G20 lainnya, sehingga dapat meningkatkan kerjasama dan kontribusi wirausaha perempuan baik dalam skala nasional maupun internasional. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi Santi Santi.
Thank you, the Honorable Mr. Teten Mas Duki, for the direction and welcoming speech that has been given to us. Ladies and gentlemen, all distinguished guests, before we get into our main event today, we have prepared a few clips for you. Please enjoy.
Kesetaraan gender masih menjadi isu global yang bergulir di tengah masyarakat. berbagai gerakan dalam memperjuangkan kesetaraan gender juga terus berkembang seiring dengan kemajuan zaman. Namun sayangnya, perempuan masih belum cukup terwakilkan dalam skala ekonomi global dengan berbagai bentuk diskriminasi yang dihadapi. Mulai dari peluang yang tidak memenuhi syarat, kurangnya akses keuangan, hingga bias gender, menjadi sekian dari bentuk diskriminasi yang sering dihadapi oleh perempuan, baik di Indonesia maupun dunia. Indonesia memiliki lebih dari 64 juta UMKM yang berkontribusi terhadap 60% PDB nasional, dengan 64% diantaranya adalah perempuan. Oleh karena itu, peningkatan peran perempuan pada UMKM juga perlu didorong dalam arus utama kebijakan, di mana perempuan tidak hanya ditempatkan sebagai pemain sekunder, tetapi menjadi pemain inti dalam keberlangsungan UMKM. Dalam kurun waktu 20 tahun terakhir, terdapat peningkatan terhadap jumlah usaha yang dipimpin oleh perempuan sebesar 114%, dengan fakta 62% pengusaha perempuan berusia antara 40 hingga 59 tahun. Data dari Kementerian Keuangan juga menyebutkan bahwa indeks inklusi keuangan perempuan di Indonesia mencapai 75,15%. Hal tersebut menjadi acuan bagi pemerintah dalam mendorong peningkatan inklusi keuangan perempuan demi terciptanya kesempatan yang sama bagi perempuan di bidang keuangan. Memperhatikan cross-cutting isu perempuan, Kementerian Koperasi dan UKM berkolaborasi dengan Engagement Group W20 dan B20 yang menjadi upaya agar lebih banyak perempuan memimpin, berpartisipasi, serta memiliki akses pada peluang bisnis dan ekonomi dengan mendukung UMKM yang dimiliki dan dikelola oleh perempuan. Melalui berbagai inisiatif, dukungan, dan gerakan yang terus berjalan, Empowering Women Entrepreneurs Through Inclusive Business menjadi sebuah monumen kolaborasi antara Kementerian Koperasi dan UKM dengan Kementerian Pemberdayaan Perempuan dan Perlindungan Anak, W20, B20, Apindo, serta beberapa stakeholder lainnya untuk mewujudkan pemberdayaan wirausaha perempuan dalam mencapai tujuan Recover with Small and Medium Enterprises.
Ladies and gentlemen, the previous video briefly explains regarding the theme for today's occasion. Next, I would like to invite speakers from both offline and online to join me for a group photo session. And for online participants, please do make sure to activate your web video to be able to be a part of this group photo session. So, this photo session will be separate for 3 sessions. The first session is for all the speakers, and the next one I will join with all speakers and of course with Mrs. Deputy. And the last one we will take a picture to all of you, of course. Photo session to all the speakers and Miss Deputy, and of course all the participants. Please give your nicest smile tonight. I will count down 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Okay, once again, 3, 2, 1. Thank you for all speakers. Please stay with us. We will continue for the second session. So this is the the second round, ladies. Don't put your mask. Okay, this is the second session. Please give your nicest smile again for all participants, of course, for the speakers, and we join in online, not offline. Okay, I will count down again. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. And now we will have a picture with all the participants who join online, even though in WebEx, Zoom, and of course to all speakers who join online. Okay, please turn your web video on for all participants so we can take a picture with you, of course, in this wonderful night. Okay, I will count down. 3, 2, 1, smile. Once again, because we have many participants who join our event tonight. 3, 2, 1, keep smile. Give your nicest smile. Okay, thank you. So, all speakers, you may be seated. So we have been through the opening ceremony of the seminar. Next agenda is discussion that, as you know, will be separated in 3 sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's focus our attention for the first session, which will discuss empowering women entrepreneurs through inclusive business. So ladies and gentlemen, our first session will talk about expanding the role of women in inclusive business, of course in Indonesia case. And to elaborate our session, 2 speakers has joined me. Ladies, how are you?
Thank
I
you.
will introduce you, our nicest speakers tonight. That is Miss Gita Syahrani from Lingkar Temu Kabupaten Lestari. Miss Gita, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully always good. And also Miss Diana Oktari from ASIC Holding PT Ltd. Hi,
Hello,
Miss
good
Diana,
evening.
how are you?
Good, thank you.
Hopefully very good, yeah. And there are several discussions that we will be discussed today in this first agenda, that namely, what is the role of women in the region on their practice of supporting entrepreneurs that are oriented towards sustainable development, but on the other hand, are able to connect to market and investment. And also the second part is what is the role of environment, social governance, ESG standard, to support women entrepreneurs in the region or rural area. And the third one is what are the unique cases of women entrepreneurs in Indonesia that can be shared with participants, especially among G20 countries. Okay, ladies, before you start your presentation, I would like to remind all participants, please type in your question in the chat column for Webex and Zoom, and on comment section for YouTube by entering your name, underscore your organization, underscore your question, of course. So, to kick things off, let's look at Miss Gita Syahrani presentation for the Sustainable District Meeting Circle. You have 7 minutes to explain your presentation, please.
Sure, thank you so much. And it's very nice to meet all of you, both virtually as well as the ones that are attending offline. Thank you so much for Mbak Brigita, as well as the Ministries of Cooperative and Small Medium Scale Enterprises that have allowed us to share a little bit of a story how our Sustainable Districts Association is currently trying to craft ecosystem that hopefully can provide a good foundation for more women entrepreneurs to thrive. And we're calling it our Success Stories Based Policy Making Journey. If we can go to the next slide, our association actually represents, next slide please. Our association represents 9 districts all over Indonesia. Majority is located in the Big Island, so Sumatra, Sulawesi, as well as in Kalimantan. And in total, our membership actually represents approximately 5.5 million hectares of forest, as well as almost 2 million hectares of peat. What is interesting is actually it also represents more than 1 million farmers and smallholders group that lives within and surrounding the important ecosystem area. What is interesting about this association is actually the key vision is to facilitate collective actions between multi-stakeholders, which enables sustainable district to be something that's achievable, doable, and something that is actually beneficial for the future. If we can go to the next slide, there's one particular vision that we ended up launching together with several ministries, including Ministries of Cooperative also is in a part of this equation, is a concept where we bring tangible opportunities to the district through actually promoting value-added sustainable industry that's community-led, that is also focusing on how to protect and preserve ecosystem while moving towards viable business model. In particular, focusing on 3 priority sectors, which is beauty and wellness, industry and technology, as well as health and medicine. So through this concept, the hope is that we can empower more local businesses that is impactful and can actually move policy into a more progressive setting because yes, they provide tangible benefit and tangible success stories that can belong to everyone. It can attract more private sector support, it can attract more government support, it can also attract more development partner support. Along this line, Bappenas have issued study together with the British Council on social enterprise that actually looks at how Indonesia right now is thriving with more than 300,000 social enterprises that's impactful all over Indonesia. What's interesting is from this 300,000 and more social enterprise, majority of the women's group are the ones that are taking control because mostly it's owned by women. Women are also one of the most, the majority beneficiaries of the social enterprise, reaching almost 50%. From the social enterprise, we recognize that majority of the time they are struggling with institutional support, they're struggling with finance support, and they're also struggling with human resource development. So this is the ecosystem creation that we're trying to push with women entrepreneurs all over LTKL district. If we can go to the next slide, I will show you 4 examples or 4 stages that we are crafting towards a good ecosystem for women entrepreneurs all across LTKL district and hopefully even nationwide. The first is we start from mapping and establishing a good database that create an identity for the entrepreneurs. For this, we collaborate with the Cooperative and Small Medium Scale Enterprises Ministry, also with SMESCO Indonesia. The second phase is when we talk about business readiness. Here we partner with several of our partners network, including Supernova Ecosystem and Kreologi, as well as one local incubator that is located in Siak district called Sekelas. The third phase is focusing on market access. For market access, we partner with several also good solid foundational core market access network, including Tokopedia, one of the e-commerce. We also partner with Potato Head Group, in particular Kaum Restaurant, and we actually help district establish their own e-commerce called Gerai Kabupaten Lestari. Actually, we're participating in Inakraf right about now. And the last part is narrative building. This is also done collaboratively with partners. Let me show you an example of how we move towards all these phases. The first one being the mapping, database, and identity creation. If we can go to the next slide. Crafting identity as entrepreneurs is something that is important for all of these women entrepreneurs all across LTKL district. We start from co-creating database along with the agencies at the district level and also in coordination with the provincial and national level so that we have a solid database who is still in operation, what are the scale, what are the status currently. Then we try to curate all of the product and services to define what are the sustainability, what are the innovation elements that we can actually highlight and feature. Using that, we build communication product and actually channel the database to ministries and partners that can actually accelerate their growth. Come to the second part. If we can go to the next slide, this actually showcases how we try to build the business readiness of the female entrepreneurs. We actually took some impact from a recent training that was conducted in Siak district as well as in Sintang district, two of our district members, where the entrepreneurs actually learn about basic stock management. They learn about how to understand supply chain and how to maintain sustainability within the supply chain. They talk about pricing and marketing, look at quality control, and also learn about digital marketing. These are core skills that should be accessible by women entrepreneurs all across Indonesia, but right now are still difficult. So the idea is if we can build a network of incubators, both at the national but also at the local level, we can address this problem. If we can go to the next slide, the next part is actually connecting these entrepreneurs with potential market. More importantly, connecting them with Bangga Buatan Indonesia movement. We look at how we can actually build their capacity one at a time using a phased approach, starting with a smaller quantity, but also opening their chance to actually penetrate to larger market once they're ready. We do trial for product aggregation and actually build connectivity for B2B partnership. We also showcase and try to connect them with online marketplace, and most importantly, we just launched a policy paper that can leverage at least 40% commitment of domestically sourced product using public procurement system. How amazing is that? If we can go to the next slide, I will show you this is about building narrative as well. We have more than 2,000 dishes and 1,000 beverages that's originated from the women entrepreneurs all across LTKL district that are sold and promoted across Potato Head Group. And from that, we managed to actually conceive 5 new value-added products that's discovered and even was featured in the G20 opening summit. This is something that is helping the women's entrepreneurs to recognize how important they are in building identity of the sustainable Indonesia's future. If we can go to the next slide, I will then show you how at the end of the day, this also translates into concrete business opportunity where the local female leaders become the management team. They become the innovators. They become the scientist leaders in companies such as Alam Siak Lestari in Siak that's conserving peat through sustainable value-added products with technology that's inspired by local tradition. This is actually a company that's also community owned. So yes, a lot of success stories are happening on the ground. If we can go to the next slide, how this actually translates into something that's integrated, we feel all the success stories can actually move forward towards more progressive policy, more progressive planning, and more progressive multi-stakeholders collaboration, both in funding, technical assistance, promotion, as well as research. But this is something that has to be done intentionally. This is something that has to be done in an environment where everything is actually connected and integrated. And here is why LTKL doesn't stop in one intervention at a time, but rather continue our journey to build women entrepreneurs by creating a safe, productive, and enabling ecosystem, looking at policy, planning, multi-stakeholders governance, but inspiring all of the progress through real, tangible success stories. Thank you very much for allowing us to share our stories. Looking forward to empower more women entrepreneurs through connected ecosystem.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gita. What a wonderful presentation about LTKL. But before I move to Ms. Diana, I have one question for you. Have LTKL collaborated with another ministry for all your programs so it can be increasing, of course, your number and your target?
So aside from the Ministry of Cooperative and Small Medium Scale Enterprises, obviously we also work with SMESCO Indonesia and Ministry of Investment. We actually just launched Sustainable Investment Guidelines Kickoff as a collaborative effort. And along the same line, because we are a district association, Mbak Brigita, we also work with Ministry of Home Affairs as the actual lead of all districts across Indonesia. And we also take guidance from Ministry of Environment and Forestry to define what sustainability means.
Oh,
so
what an interesting
around
program.
5 to 6 ministries to actually build one ecosystem, and we need more.
Yeah, because they have a separate or maybe irisan about the authority. So yeah, it connected all the ministry. Okay, thank
Definitely.
you, Miss Gita. And I'll move to Miss Diana Oktari from ASIC. So 7 minutes for you. The time is yours.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Diana Oktari. Okay, thank you. My name is Diana Oktari. At ASIC, I'm heavily involved in SMEs and also empower women initiatives, as well as manage our partnership with different side of stakeholders. For the next slide, please. Okay, in ASIC Holdings, we are actually focusing in supply chain finance and also collaboration services. In ASIC, we collaborate with national and also government in local to help to map and also to find out how to make a good supply chain finance in different places in Indonesia. The next step, please. Okay. This year, ASIC also won a global award Best Provider of Sustainable Finance Solution that is provided by Global Finance in Europe. Next slide, please. When we talk about MSME situation in Indonesia, we have 64 million businesses that dominated by micro enterprises. This number actually 60% of the Indonesia's GDP. From that number, over 64% of micro enterprises particularly are led and owned by women. Meaning, by empowering MSMEs means we are also empowering women in Indonesia. Next slide, please. When we talk about the challenge, we found that in our experiences that social expectation in gender roles leads to the lack of confidence and difficulties to find a support system for women entrepreneurs. When we talk about geographical location and predominant culture, also the level of education and then exposure to other cultures and ways of life, we found that actually the perspectives are different. So we need to find a good way so we can help women to empower them in business activities. Next slide, please. Then when we talk about the digitalization, the question is, are we ready and are our infrastructure and MSME's capabilities ready? Based on this picture, when we talk about Java province, we found that the level of digitalization for MSMEs in Indonesia, particularly in Java province, is quite well distributed. But when we talk about other places in Indonesia, even for our next capital city in Kalimantan, we found that the level of digitalization for MSMEs is quite scattered. So we need to improve this digitalization for MSMEs in Indonesia. Next slide, please. So what is the role of women in Indonesia in the practice of supporting women entrepreneurs? In ASIC, we believe that women are able to empathize, we are able to design, even to run programs that are specific for other women. Next slide, please. When we talk about our programs, we talk about Melati Nusantara. So in Melati Nusantara, we actually supported by UNCDF. This program actually targeting 7,000 MSMEs to onboard in our program. Up until now, we have 2,000 MSMEs onboarded. From that number, actually we have 73% of women users onboarded. This program actually provides online learning modules, which is free, self-paced program and also easy to access. In this online learning platform, we have business, digital, and technology, even to supply chain issues, and then other issues such as sustainability, gender equality, and tax. Next slide, please. So, do we have another option in our program in Melati Nusantara? So basically, in Melati Nusantara, we produce weekly comic series. This actually also a community for our women entrepreneurs in Indonesia. So we produce weekly comic series which is also help our participants to understand how the modules is going and also to simplify any terms in Melati Nusantara. Next slide, please. Another project in ESIX, we collaborate with government of Japan and also UNDP. This program called Business Lestari. Over more than 1,000 of MSMEs onboarded in this program. In this program, we have 5 main modules, which is cover about inclusion, ESG, and also digital economy. From this program, we have more than 74% of women onboarded, and also followed by youth and also people with disabilities. Next slide, please. Okay, so what we have in this program? Actually, in this program, we have a business matching session that include experts and investors on board in this program. We also successfully help our participants to have their own business profile and also develop their skills on pitch deck or presentation skills. Next slide, please. So this is food for thought. When we talk about ESG standards, our MSM is familiar with this term. So ESIX actually conducted 3 activities. We have focus group discussions and also in-depth interviews. Even we do the research and field visits. From that activities, we found that actually our partners, our participants in programs were not familiar yet with ESG terms. Next slide, please. So what we do in ESIX to help our participants understand about ESG form and also standards, we do collaboration with our partners such as LTKL and also GRI standards, even with UKM Indonesia, to find and also to create a good learning modules that can cover information about environment, social, and also governance issues. We simplify the terms and also we help our participants to understand the ESG terms in a good way. Next slide, please. Then when we talk about women entrepreneurs case in Indonesia, I agree with Ibu Sri Mulyani. She said that we have to empower, we need to take this momentum to empower women and also to help them to participate in business economy and also activities in Indonesia, so that we can improve our skills in business activities. Also, in reality, we have to find out how to bridge this gap so that our participants, so MSMEs in Indonesia, can improve their skills not only in digital literacy, but also in financial literacy. Next slide, please. So, ESIX will continue to support women entrepreneurs. We are proud to be a part of this process and aspire to continue our good and beneficial works through our programs and our partnership with others. So, let's collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you. What a wonderful and inspiring presentation from Ms. Diana Oktari, ASIX Holdings Pte Ltd. But due to your presentation, I would like to more knowing about or elaborate about. If we talk about Indonesia, we have a different ability, different background of each district. So how ASIC figure about their ability so you can collaborate with women entrepreneurs, of course, in each district?
Okay, thank you. So we found that there are different kind of ability of our business partners or for our participant. We have some visit that actually they are not have capability in digital iteration or even in financial iteration. So we found that one of the options that we can do to collaborate them through our modules to our information, which is in a simple way and also in fun way, so they can understand it more clearly rather than to use any terms that actually maybe they're not familiar yet. So we need to simplify the terms about the business and also about digitalization and so on.
Yeah, because as we know, women in Indonesia, not all of them have a, what we say that able to understand about digitalization and etc. etc. So yeah, it is a challenge, right, to make them involved for this business. So all of the participants, you can join with us and write your or type your question for two speakers in this session, of course in the chat for Webex and Zoom by typing your name, underscore your organization, and of course your question. But before we wait their response, I have a question for both of you. What is the most challenging thing to empowering women, of course, in each business what they develop? Miss Gita first.
Sure. I guess there cannot be one challenge, but essentially the way that we look at things is the ecosystem right now is not equipped enough to actually lift up women entrepreneurs in particular. Even when we look at cultural perspective, in each of the districts that we were working with, we see the role of women as entrepreneurs as something that is seen as a side job. It's not something that they're expected to be successful in. So that's why the ecosystem needs to be worked on a bit more. And that's also why LTKL decide not to look at things one intervention at a time, but rather look at it as a collective intervention, not only by us, but also facilitate by other partners, and focusing that on actually building core ecosystem for the entrepreneurs itself.
Okay, you just need a regulation, yeah?
So regulation is one thing, but inherent build of how the cultural differences is placed into the equation, how at the end of the day there's also lack of human resources and things
maybe
that
that's the main problem, yeah?
Well, that's one of the core problems. It's hard to recruit for entrepreneurs, let alone women entrepreneurs, because majority of the time they're not being taken too seriously by their business counterparts as well.
It's just a killing time business, just
yeah,
like
it's
that.
considered like that, but actually the entrepreneurs are quite serious with their business.
Just I think
Okay.
agree about that.
Sure, we agree that we need to make the ecosystem first in a good and a strong way. But also we found that in our partnership or maybe in our participants, the mental, how they improve their mental, that this is the business is not only to economy point of view, but also to find out that through business they can also improve and to get more ability on how to do the financial things and also the digital things.
Not only selling, but
True.
also financial things.
Yes, so that kind of thing that we need to improve together, to collaborate together, because we cannot work alone. We need to work with not only in government side and also in other side, other people also need to collaborate with us.
So what kind of support that you need more from the government, of course, to make all the target is possible to reach? Okay, Diana first.
Okay, what we need. So, in our opinion, in my opinion, that the important thing that the government need to present, that they need to be there to help our women empowerment, and also we need to make sure that women can get their help when they need. So, for example, when women need not only about the digitalization, maybe about the we can say about devices to help them in activity
We
in
just
business.
use this for Instagram or maybe just for kepoing lambe tura.
Yeah, that's thing that maybe we can collaborate also the government ability can have, which actually we found that people can be more active to do the business itself when they believe that there is support from other part.
Okay, so
I mean, I guess I have three maybe recommendation. Number one
That's
is
nice.
Again, congratulations for the ministries of cooperative and SMEs for issuing, also becoming the lead behind the issuance of the new presidential regulation that also accommodates social enterprise. And again, because social enterprise is mostly run by women, the hope is to take that presidential regulation and actually implement more incentives specifically for social enterprise, be it fiscal incentives or infrastructure, and like what Diana mentioned, even facility support. So that's one. The second one is looking at how the ministry also can work with the Center of innovation. Right now they
Yeah.
have all over Indonesia, and how to build capacity of those innovation center
Okay.
to also become an investment hub. And lastly, right now the ministry is already showcasing a lot of wonderful examples of collaboration, and we need that even more forward, but not only sort of like one-off or event-based collaboration, but more systemic collaboration that becomes again ecosystem creation.
Okay,
So
we
those
have-
are the three.
Okay, we have one question from Eka SBM ITB. Does the collaboration that is built, yeah, I have a problem to read because it's not feel good. Okay, from Mirza Putra, what is a big challenge to improve entrepreneurship ability as a woman in Indonesia? Maybe you can answer straight. Kita
Me,
first.
me
Yes,
first? Okay.
you first.
So what is the biggest challenge? I guess I'll refer to my previous answer on cultural setting, but also take into account how women right now is actually being underestimated by the system. There are data and research that shows how women entrepreneurs are actually much more capable in terms of financial literacy, for example. They also are more capable on decision making, even managerial skills. So how to uplift that and make that as something that's recognized also by the system is something right now is a challenge, but I believe we can solve it together.
Yeah, because we cannot doing by ourselves, but
Yeah,
we
sure.
should doing with collaboration, of course. So,
Okay.
Diana?
Okay, from my side, a support system.
Okay.
So it is important to bridge this challenge, because the support system will help women entrepreneurs to help place or friend to discuss, to share their problems on business in terms of business. So the support system is something important for us.
So if I can conclude, ecosystem is the most important, because the human resource just can build by the good ecosystem, which is support system, regulation, and of course collaboration for all stakeholders. So thank you Gita Syahrani, Lingkar Temu Kabupaten Lestari, and Diana Oktari Asik Holding PT. Give applause for two of our speakers in the first session. Thank you once again, and I will start the next session after this video. Where is the video? We will change the speakers. Okay, I'm back, and now for the second session that we'll discuss about the impact of investment for women entrepreneurs. I have two speakers. I will invite first Ms. Ira Noviarti, Chair of B20 Indonesia Women in Business Action Council, will join us virtually. And of course, the second one is Ms. Atika Benedicta dari Angin, who's joined with me in here. How are you, ladies?
I'm really good. Thanks for
Hopefully
having
you're
us.
really good, yeah. Because it is a great opportunity for. Hi, Miss Ira. How are you, Miss Ira? Hopefully you are good. Yeah, we cannot hear your voice in here. Mimin.
Hi, good evening.
Okay, we will talk about several issues in the session. The main theme is the impact of investment for women entrepreneurs. The first issue is what are the challenges and opportunities for women's small business financing, and the second issue is investment in women entrepreneurs, especially at the SME level, able to reduce negative impact on the environment. The first opportunity I will give to Ms. Ira Noviarti as a chair of B20 Indonesia Women in Business Action Council. Ms. Ira, 7 minutes for you. The floor is yours, Ms. Ira. Miss Ira. Nah, we lost you.
Hi, can you
Yes, I can hear your voice clearly.
hear
So,
me?
Miss Ira, you can present your presentation, please.
Yes, it's this is actually in relate to the questions about what are the challenges and opportunities for women for small business financing. Um, if we look into if I can actually probably share with you a couple of study or actually reports about the female entrepreneurs in Southeast Asia, yeah, that they have around 7% less opportunity than men to access the network that are essential for the advancement of their business. And this actually includes the financing itself. So we also see from the research of by the Women's World Banking that women who desire credit or have access to the credit, but is actually insufficient to meet their needs, the following reasons were actually cited of why they experienced that. One of them is about the high transactions costs. Another is about lack of collateral. Another reason is about documents requirements and the lack of the network itself. Now, collectively, these barriers have prevented a majority of women-owned SMEs in these 5 countries, which is Indonesia, Cambodia, Philippines, Vietnam, and also Myanmar. Now, another factors besides financing is about the networks. So networks are an important factors for business growth. However, women entrepreneurs in a numbers of emerging Asian economies are less likely to access critical networks. We see some survey in roughly around more than 200 SMEs owners, like in Malaysia, the Philippines, or Thailand. We see that a higher percentage of women owners compared to men owners never interact with business associations. Now, 5 main challenges for MSMEs in Indonesia, especially those run by women. Yeah. One of the first challenges is really about the related to the resource and the funding issues, which are still an obstacle for us. Now, we look into the second challenges is really about the availability of the knowledge of the cross-border opportunities in the various regions, yeah. And the third challenges is about women in some areas are not ready for the economic and digital future. And the fourth is that there are still few opportunities for women in terms of the leadership itself. And the fifth, there is still the threat of violence in the workplace. Now, in Indonesia itself, women entrepreneurs often find it difficult to access the government assistance. Yeah, a report like released by the United Nations Development Program or UNDPs shows that only 15% of the women entrepreneurs receive social assistance from the government throughout the 2020. So we see that this is actually still not the level that we want it to be. Yeah. And also limited informations and also not meeting the requirements where the main factors is. Yeah. Now, we also see that in the midst of the current pandemic, women MSMEs are able to show greater sensitivity, agility in overcoming problems or seeking opportunities. We see this actually an opportunity for them. In other part, we see also the study that we actually conducted by the B20 Women in Business Action Council, and it's also being done by our knowledge partner, Deloitte. It states that there is a global economic opportunity worth of about 2.5 to 5 trillion US dollar if we really address these participations of women in this actually market. So
it actually goes without saying that access to financing it is actually a critical aspect, but so access to the legal technology, marketing and knowledge, and also network. This is why at the B20 Women in Business Action Council, we're planning to develop one global women empowerment. We call it OGWI. So this platform will actually is actually going to be a network where we will going to be enable the female entrepreneurs, and it's actually going to be a one-stop place where we help the female entrepreneurs around the world to get all the support they need in one go, which actually include the digital capabilities, also include the cross-border knowledge sharing, as well as also funding and investment, and also the supportive policy. So we hope that what we are actually doing with the B20 are not about the policy recommendations, but equally also creating the platform that enabling the women entrepreneurs and also the accelerate the women empowerment agenda. So I think that's one thing that I could actually share there.
Thank you for Ms. Ira. But if we talk about financial support, women that, as you said before, have some challenges such as availability and then their knowledge and of course their networking. Not many women in Indonesia well educated and well informed about illegal fintech applications, so they have drawn on it. So if you have vision or maybe suggesting for women about it, you can share with us.
Sorry, can you repeat that questions again?
Yeah, about the information and education, illegal fintech application, or maybe as we taught in here, pinjaman online illegal. Nah, not many women well educated, well informed about it. So if you have any suggestion for all of women who join this event, Ms. Ira.
Yeah, I think one of the policy recommendations that we are also suggesting there is also to provide the access on the digital capabilities. So I think by providing the access in the form of the infrastructure for the woman that is actually across not only for a certain social level, but it's actually across social level, that itself will address one of the aspects that could actually address these challenges.
Yeah. Another question is, what do you suggest to make them in these issues is women entrepreneurs to make a bankable business? Miss Ira?
Say it again. Sorry, I'm not actually really hearing you.
Yeah. Not many women have a sustained business, so they can. We can say they are not bankable, so they can just like separate or maybe a little opportunity to access financial credit. So what is your strategy that can share with us in here so they can increase their businesses and be bankable?
Yeah. Right. So again, going back into the strategic imperatives that we are actually proposing from the B20 itself, is one of them is to develop or create or identify the access into the ecosystem that will actually enable these women entrepreneurs and give them access into financial, access in not only financial but also legal, and also access in terms of the that is actually going to be enables them to
Okay, we lost connection with Miss Ira. Miss Ira hopefully can join with us again because he has some strategies that can share with us. Of course, about our theme is the financial things, the impact of investment for women. So we have Atika Benedicta dari Angin in here. So Atika, you have 7 minutes to share your presentation with us, please.
Thank you. Okay, hi everyone. First of all, thank you for having us, for the distinguished speakers, and also like all the attendees. So here, I'm from Angin, and we'd like to share about our learning about the women entrepreneurship support, especially in the lens from the investors and also from the entrepreneurs itself. So can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so just a quick introduction about Angin, because previously it's mentioned about network, right? How network is important to support the women entrepreneurs. Actually, Angin is developed or started as a network. So we started as a women fund back then. We pooling capital from women leaders and then distributed it to the women entrepreneurs. But then, as we grow, we are now becoming an investor network. So now we are an investment platform plus an advisory service focusing on the early stage entrepreneurship. And what we're doing, so we divided into like 2 big categories. The first one is the investment side. So what we're doing is, we become the intermediary, supporting entrepreneurs to connect with the right investors. And then on the advisory side, we have this capacity building, workshops, training, and also like the knowledge and network development to ensure that the entrepreneurs and also the ecosystem is well equipped for the development. So at this stage, as of now, we have distributed up to $23.5 million to the early stage entrepreneurs, and this capital is dispersed directly by the investors in our network. So we have 2 types of network. First is angel investor, or it's actually an individual investor who contribute to the entrepreneurship through financial capital. And the other type is institutional clients. So we have venture capitals and also like some impact investors in our network as well. And on the advisory side, we work together like with diverse partners from corporate partners, governments, and so on. And with this, we are doing like so many activities for developing both sides, like the entrepreneurs and also the investor side. Maybe we can go to the next slide. So this is the ideas about the portfolio companies invested by our investors. So if you can see here, this is like some examples about women-led enterprises that finally got capital from the angel investors and some institutional investors in the network. And as you can see, the women entrepreneurs here is not only about like one specific sectors, but it's like diverse from financial services, fashion and craft, food and beverage, even like logistics. And these women-led enterprises also intentionally contributing to the SDGs, not only about the gender equality because they push the women leadership, but also like for the environmental impact and also like the social improvement as well. Next slide, please. So even though like now we like in Angin, we are not limited to supporting women entrepreneurs only, but supporting women is always part of our DNA. So previously we can see like more than 40% of our portfolio companies, they are women-led enterprises. But actually we don't only work with women entrepreneurs, but we also empower women investors to also participate in the journey. So here we can see like the 3 big categories about what we're doing. From the awareness side, what we're doing is like to support the investors. So we don't only support the entrepreneurs, but we support the investors, the capital providers, to work or to discuss about how implement gender lens or how implement a gender responsive approach in dispersing the investment. And then we try to scale the entrepreneurs first through funding, but the second one is also through the training programs. And here, we don't only work with the women entrepreneurs in the micro SMEs side, but also the one with the tech-driven startups kind of pool. And this is really important because we understand that women entrepreneurs have different characteristics which need different types of support. And then we also have this knowledge activities, which we're doing some studies, we're doing some research to really understand what's happening both in the capital supply and also from the capital demand side. Next slide, please. So after engaging with these diverse groups of audience, both from the investors and also the entrepreneurs, there are like three big challenges that we see when we're talking about like women and access to capital. So the first one and foremost is actually the perception towards growth orientation. It is really important because mostly women entrepreneurs are seen as one pool, like women entrepreneurs, but actually we can like dig deeper based on their growth orientation. Women entrepreneurs is not only those who are working in the smaller scale of business, but they can be like the one who are leading the tech startups in Indonesia. They have this high growth innovation, but we also have these women entrepreneurs with a more sustaining kind of play. And with these differences, they will need different support, including different types of capital. So this is an interesting learning where we see many support, especially financial access for women entrepreneurs, mostly going towards like loan, and then the conversation is around like women is less bankable. But actually there are different types of alternative capital, like equity, mezzanine, and so on, right? And this is really depending on what kind of growth orientation they're doing, and maybe we can also work on that to give more options for the financing for women. And then on the right side, we have these two challenges. First one is coming from the demand side. We agree that more women maybe need more support on the financial literacy. It's not that they are not well educated, but they're less exposed to the options of financing. And this will affect how they react with the new ways of financing or with the different types of risk to take the investment. And the second part is actually coming from the capital supply. So when we say that women cannot access capital, we cannot always blame the entrepreneurs, but we can also see how the capital supply works or reacts with this. So nowadays we see the gender-sensitive investment process is getting more awareness. So even though like more people is looking at this, but so many improvements still needed. Next slide, please. So this is a quick statistics about how women invest. I mean, like investing in women is always growing. So Angin has this study in 2020 that we see that deals of impact investors or investment with a strong intention and impact is always increasing. And 20% of this deal is invested in women-led enterprises. But we also observed that at least 160 million is committed in 2021 to be dispersed in the women-led investment intentionally by the investors. And of course, it's not like the only numbers that we can refer to, because we also see so many initiatives nowadays. Next slide. And for this one, why is it important to support women enterprises, especially how it linked to the environmental impact? Because women tends to be like more environmental cautious, and then the sectors where women are leading is actually the top one of the top 5 sectors that are contributing like ways. So it's really an important support to make sure that these sectors can be more circular and more sustainable. Maybe next slide, just the last one. This is just like a quick examples of how women-led enterprises that we usually engage with can contribute to the environment. So through alternative packaging, beauty and wellness, plant-based protein, and even like new retail, the logistics side can also contributing to the environment. Thank you. I think that's, yeah.
They also think about SDGs target.
Correct.
So as Angin said before. So all of you, all the participants can respond to what the speakers have told about by type your name, underscore question, and of course your organization in the chat at WebEx and Zoom, and at the comment at YouTube link. But we're still trying to figure our connection with Miss Ira, but before that I will ask Atika.
Okay.
Atika, you said that Angin is intermediary, and you said you help a company that is women leader in it. But we want to know, do Angin search the company that they support, or the company should make proposal to Angin?
Okay. Yes, so there are 2 types of sourcing, we call it, right?
Okay.
So we call it like inbound sourcing, which means that the company approach us directly and they have this pitch deck. We call it pitch deck for the investment, and they need to fill out some forms, of course, like to.
So they should make a portfolio first, yeah.
Correct.
For their company.
Yeah, but sometimes we also do active sourcing.
Okay.
So because we have like 100-ish investors in our network, so they have different hats, they have different interests, and sometimes the sectors are very particular.
Very
we need
specific sectors.
Correct. So we need to like attending events, talking to people to really find the good referrals for our sourcing.
The easiest thing that maybe women entrepreneurs who see this seminar, sectors they can get investment from Angin, what kind of sector?
Okay, yeah, that's really $1 million question, right? Okay. Every investor mostly will say like we are sector agnostic. Okay. It means that they can tap into different sectors, but actually we see growing discussion around alternative protein, plant-based, food innovation, agriculture, sustainable agriculture.
Innovation is also
correct, and also like the circular economy. Angles. It can be like sustainable fashion or waste reduction.
What kind
effort.
of sustainable fashion?
So maybe like this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
with the natural color.
Correct. Yeah. Or even like some fashion rental platform. It can also be approached as a sustainable fashion because that introduce a new way of consumption, right?
So not only the producer but also the platform.
Correct.
You can do that. Okay. So we still invite participants to join with us in this second session. Of course, we type your question in the chat, type your name, organization, and of course your question. Atika, back again. Many women not know about Angin, but you do many kind of things, not only give, donate or investment to the company, but also increasing, develop their company with what we say pendampingan. Yeah. The most challenging thing besides human resource and infrastructure, what another thing that we should, in this short term, make our target impactful and applicable?
Okay, I think it's also the perception that supporting women entrepreneurs has to be done by women, but actually this effort should be done by everyone, right?
Yeah.
So I think that perception might hinder some, some actions as well, like limited some, we need more partners, we need more ideas as well. So yeah, I think that's one. But I can go for the second point about I think the way we clustered women entrepreneurs as one cluster, but actually they can be like divided into different categories.
Yeah, many kind of sectors.
Exactly, and it's not only about like sectors, but also like about the growth, the innovation, the technology, and they will need this different support as well.
Okay, but if we talk about stigma, paradigm, it is culture, of course. There are a lack of culture. If we talk about supporting women that you said before, we have a lack of gender sensitive. So what government can support to make the challenges it minimize?
Okay, I think of course the first one about like having this discussion with multi-stakeholders, learning from the other countries, and also like the cross partnership within private sectors and all of these stakeholders I think will be important. And also like to move away from the grant, and also like to be more prioritizing in growth, because if it's like only grant kind of discussion or like micro loans, maybe it only tap into like a different pool of women entrepreneurs, but we have another group that needs another support for growth. And maybe this is not yet discussed well currently.
Yeah, thank you. But this is a question for you from the audience. I will read it first for you. Actually, it's for Ibu Ira, but connection is good enough to answer? Or Atika should answer it? Bu Ira, Bu Ira? Bu Ira? Are you still with us? Hi, Bu Ira. This is a question for you. Can you Bu Ira?
Yes, hi.
Okay, Bu Ira, this is a question for you. Is investment in women entrepreneurs, especially at the SME level, able to reduce negative impact on the environment?
Yeah, no, thank you for the questions. If you can hear me very well now.
Yeah, we can hear you very well and see your beautiful face tonight.
Yeah, so sorry, there's actually something wrong with the connection. So I'll try to answer the second questions that you raised. This is actually in regards to the
Maybe lack of connection again with Bu Ira. Maybe you can help Bu Ira.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, about is investment in women entrepreneurs can reduce about the problem.
Of course, I would say, because when we're talking like word problems, it's like very huge, you know. But for example, like the environmental problem, and we can see like how women-led enterprises have these solutions and are more environmental. I would say like positively impact the environment with their innovative solutions. So I think that's one approach to see this. But what is also important is how they engage with the women user base as well. And you know that women is actually like having higher purchasing power.
Yeah.
And this actually will drive the way of consumption, and this can support the effort to like the waste reduction and
because in here women doing everything,
exactly.
household, work, child, any kind of things. Okay, last closing statement for you, Atika Benedicta, about our theme in this second session, the impact of investment for women entrepreneurs. What you can say?
Okay, so I would say that supporting women entrepreneurs can be seen in two sides. The first one, of course, how we can support the women entrepreneurs itself through mentoring, capacity building, access to network, access to different financial options. But of course, don't forget for the second angle, which is the capital supply. We need to change the way capital dispersed. We need to have a more gender sensitive or gender responsive approach in dispersing capital, understanding that women have different needs and also have different contexts. So I think that's really a key, like to support the women entrepreneurship.
It's time to act, not talk anymore. Thank you, Atika
so
Benedicta
much.
from Angin.
Thank you so
Hope you
much.
always success and health, of course. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, once again, I would like to thanks to Ms. Ira Noviarty, Chair of B20 Indonesia Women in Business Action Council, and also Atika Benedicta from Angin for the last session. And now we go through the third session of this seminar, and we will talk about regulatory environment for women entrepreneurs empowerment. So to elaborate our theme for this third session, I have three speakers. The first, Anna Maria Tartaglia, W20 delegate from Italy, who join us in virtual. And then Ms. Marta Perez Cuso from UNSCAP. Ms. Marta. Hi, Ms. Marta.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening, Ms. Marta. How are you?
Very good, and looking forward to our third discussion tonight.
Okay. I will move to our third speaker first. Licia Ersa, SME Committee Apindo. Licia, how are you?
Good to be here. Hello, everyone.
Okay, it's an honor for the welcoming Miss Anna Maria Tartaglia of Delegate W20 Italy to enlighten us with a few words first.
Hi everyone, happy to be here with you tonight. I am Maria Tartaglia, I'm the co-head of the Italian delegation and one of the delegates of Women 20 Italy. What we will discuss tonight is how we can empower women entrepreneurs throughout inclusive business. What is important is to answer to some key questions that everyone is asking to herself is how is the regulatory environment in the G20 countries supporting women entrepreneurs and especially the engage in sustainable development. One of the answer is that we are very conscious that the pandemic has made some of the barriers to women and gender inequalities more acute. And the situation is not so simple not in one country, but in every country that is involved in the G20 and W20. What we can say is that the core of this is how we can work on finance and infrastructure and how we can work on the four fundamental pillars is how sustainable finance and financial inclusion will be promoted. And one of the ideas is promote the effort to scale up sustainable finance and financial inclusion, supporting the development of the ESG and the impact investing, accelerating the adoption of global sustainability reporting and measurement standards. A second point is infrastructure financing, how enhance infrastructure financing by incentivizing investment in sustainable infrastructure projects, implementing infrastructure as an asset class, and supporting cross-border planning and investing. The third point is growth engines. How we can do this is support sustainable economic growth by fostering the small, medium entrepreneurs, giving to this the access to the capital, promoting open innovation in the ecosystem, also using what we define the consumer data, and doing this across all sectors and accelerating, and it is one of the core, the digitalization and the innovation process in the financial sectors. Last but not least is global regulatory environment. What is important to do is to review the financial sector regulatory frameworks to ensure that it can support economic resilience during and after the COVID, offering the opportunity to addressing the climate change, the systemic and the pandemic risk. How we can be much more focused and concentrate on the women empowerment. Three key pillars is how we can include women into the system, and means that we have to bring more women back into the workforce and into the art of the economic activity shaping the future. The point two is reimagine. And what does it mean reimagine? Means build an inclusive society and workplace culture which dismantle the pervasive gender stereotypes. And the third point is growth. Smooth road for women into business leadership and ownership. The second point is the follow-up at the previous G20 meetings related to the women's empowerment and the small and medium entrepreneurs and how they were being carried out. The key point also here is how inside the last G20 managed by the Italian presidency and the previous one were discussed the topics addressed by Finance and Infrastructure Task Force in several ministerial meetings and conferences, including the Leaders Summit. So means that what we can analyze is how the main G20 commitments refer to the sustainable finance, the financial inclusion, the financial regulation, the infrastructure investment, and the digital technologies. That will be all focused in creating a real dialogue on how women could be empowered. What is important also to underline was the fact that for the first time we had at the G20 a conference on women empowerment that was held in Santa Margherita Ligure last year at the end of August. And this conference had the aim of bringing together diverse inputs to favor a systemic, structured and cross-cutting approach to issue of women's empowerment within the international context at the G20. This conference on women empowerment, in line with the Italian presidency, was focused on promoting an inclusive and sustainable economic recovery and had the purpose of gathering opportunities for positive change. In the future, what are the challenges and the shortcoming policy that can be recommended in the G20 at this presidency? Some of these key points are fundamental that we have to consider and reconsider also during this presidency if we want to reach a real empower for women and for the small, medium and micro entrepreneurs. First of all is place the gender equality at the heart of the budgeting decision by creating an inclusive and innovative economic models that work for women and focus on achieving human well-being. We know that involving women in the right way inside the economical system will add to the economy of the world more than different trillions of dollars. What we can do is also the second point to ensure the equal representation of women at all levels of decision making in public and private, national and global, political and economical bodies by 2030. We can reach this only if we adopt a multi-year plans to achieve this goal and monitor the progress annually. Another key and fundamental point is how we can collect, analyze and report in all areas identified using gender-sensitive and disaggregated data. This is fundamental. Why? Because actually we know that we have not so many opportunities in many countries to have these kind of elements that will be very useful for understanding better what is happening and how we can improve the work that we have to do in the future. Other two fundamental points is to develop the gender impact assessment, leaving no one behind in the design, implementation, monitoring and the evaluation of all the legislative, political, strategical and programmatic initiatives, including the post-pandemic reconstruction plan and climate response strategies. And then, last but not least, we know that it's very important and is the key for the future to promote education by investing in infrastructure to ensure women and girls have access and to participate in the preschool to the tertiary education, including the early education and STEAM programs. Why? Because we know that without this kind of education and not creating the right environment from the beginning, from when our girls are very young, we cannot create the right environment, the right ecosystem for the entrepreneurs. Thanks for your attention, and I hope to have in the future the opportunity to meet you personally.
Thank you, Ms. Ana Maria Tartaglia, for your nice presentation. And for all participants who will respond, please type your comment or maybe your question in the chat by typing your name, underscore your organization, and of course, your question. The next speakers and the next opportunity I will give to Ms. Marta Perez-Cuso from UNSCAP to share your presentation. So, Ms. Marta, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts on empowering women entrepreneurs through inclusive business. We believe that empowering women entrepreneurs is essential to maximize economic opportunities for all, to unleash the creativity and the economic drive of women, and to ensure that we see more of our needs being addressed. The G20 has been supporting women entrepreneurs through several means, and today I'd like to focus on two of the avenues how the G20 has been supporting women entrepreneurs. One has been on the advancement of digital financial inclusion, and the other one on promoting inclusive business themselves. Regarding digital financial inclusion, we know that the financing, we've heard every speaker today saying that the financing gap for women entrepreneurs remains high. For instance, while 60% of businesses in Cambodia are owned by women, only 3% of them have access to loans from formal financial institutions. We've also shared that women have disproportionately felt the economic impacts of the COVID crisis. An ESCAP study on the impact of COVID on MSMEs in Vietnam revealed that women-led MSMEs were twice as likely to have suspended some or all of their business activities compared to those led by men. And digital finance inclusion is critical for inclusive economic development, and it's critically important for countries with large populations like Indonesia, India, or Brazil. And the G20 has been doing good work promoting digital financial inclusion in the past few years. The 8 principles that govern the Global Partnership on Financial Inclusion pay decent attention to women. Many G20 countries have put in place remarkable initiatives to promote digital financial inclusion. For example, in India, the direct benefit transfer or the Aadhaar digital identity system have enabled the government to respond to the economic disruption brought by COVID-19. And in the financial year of 2020-2021, about $72 billion were digitally transferred across 300 government schemes using the direct benefit transfer. And the G20 is also committed to further promote digital financial inclusion. It's a priority in its current work. Now, moving forward, what will be important is to keep up this good work, but then we also have to further explore how the different initiatives within countries and between countries are promoting digital financial inclusion. How do they work together? We may also want to pay particularly more attention to how the impact of these initiatives is transformative. So we have to be critical, and as Annalisa was saying, Ana Maria was saying, we need to do more measurement to understand better the impact and to avoid impact washing. And we also need that measurement to examine to what degree those digital financial initiatives are inclusive in terms of gender, but also beyond gender. At ESCAP, we believe that it's critical to strengthen the focus on the nexus between women and MSMEs. And it's important to focus on financial inclusion efforts to facilitate women economic empowerment and enable women not only to receive government benefits, but more importantly, to enable women entrepreneurs to operate within informal and formal settings, to establish formal enterprises, and to expand and grow their businesses. That's what some other speakers were talking today, the need to support growth and the growth of businesses led by women. And all of these will require strengthening provisions for women entrepreneurs in national SME policies, funding for digital financial solutions that address the remaining challenges that particularly affect women entrepreneurs, continue to efforts to facilitate access to funding for women entrepreneurs, and supporting financial and digital literacy for women entrepreneurs. If we can move to the next slide, please. And this is what ESCAP has been focusing in its program on catalyzing women entrepreneurs supported by the government of Canada. For example, its innovative financing component is currently reaching over 20,000 women entrepreneurs through a women's livelihood bond, a guarantee fund, and several innovation challenge funds. And these initiatives, what they do is they provide catalytical business support such as loan products, fintech platforms, and technical assistance to aid in the growth of their businesses. ASCAP is also working with several of the governments to integrate specific provisions for women entrepreneurs in their SME policies and laws. And also we are also in the process of developing a toolkit for policymakers to integrate provisions focused on women entrepreneurship in ASEAN MSME policies. Now, this has been a focus on what we think is very important to keep supporting digital financial inclusion for women entrepreneurs. And the second area where I would like to focus is on the promotion of inclusive business. If we can move to the next slide. And this is an area where the G20 has also shown leadership. In 2015, it established a globally recognized framework for promoting inclusive businesses. And for those that are not familiar with this definition of inclusive business, we refer to inclusive business models as business models that provide goods, services, and livelihoods on a commercially viable basis at scale or scalable to populations at the base of the economic pyramid, making them part of the core value chain as suppliers, distributors, retailers, or customers. So a key feature of this definition of inclusive business is that they are businesses that are commercially viable and that they focus on low income and marginalized groups. So by definition, they support low income women. And they support women economic empowerment by providing them with opportunities to become entrepreneurs and by providing them with resources and technologies such as digital financial services that enable them to build and develop their businesses. And let me share with you one example from Indonesia. Martha Tiller is a leading company in the health and wellness sector. And this company provides full scholarships to low-income women to train and become professional therapists. And after 3 or 6 months of training, the certified therapists can start working in one of the company's spas. More importantly, after 3-year contract, they can either renew that contract or they can set up their own business and become entrepreneurs themselves. And in both cases, Martha Tiller will help the therapist to get access to finance. And this is what we call an inclusive business. It's a business that really supports low-income groups and providing them with livelihoods opportunities. Now, inclusive business is also important for women's entrepreneurs because there are some of them that are led by women. Unfortunately, the anecdotal evidence that we have seen in Southeast Asia is that most of those inclusive business are led by men rather than by women, even if most of the social enterprises, smaller scale impact businesses are led by women. So this means that there must be a problem in women taking the hard challenges of bigger enterprises and leading social efforts at a larger scale. And the question is, how can we best support them? We will be working and exploring this at our next annual ASEAN Inclusive Business Summit at the end of this year, so please stay tuned. We're also preparing collaborating with Inclusive Business Action Network to prepare a study on exploring existing models of inclusive business that support women economic empowerment and exploring how we can promote more women leading inclusive business. Now, let me close my presentation just by saying that it's essential that we all continue on these efforts to support women economic empowerment initiatives, because we will not transform the landscape for women entrepreneurs in 1 year. So we will need continued support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Martha Perez-Cuso from UNESCAPE. So I underlined about the policy and governance, innovate in finance, and of course ICT and business skills, because human resource is the key to develop empowering women, of course. Yeah. And the last speakers in this session. Licia Ersa, please, 7 minutes for you.
Thank you so much, Rugita. Hello everyone, my name is Lisha and today I'm representing an association. It is one of Indonesia's oldest associations with memberships above 30,000 across all the provincial and districts in Indonesia. If you can start the presentation, we started with 3 major questions. And in these major questions earlier from SCAP and also from Italy, we've seen how it's been developing in the agenda and how policy is important. Can we please move on to the next slide, please? Thank you. So today, some of these questions, I'll try to answer them one by one with the Indonesian experience. Next, please. Right, so if we look at the world data, and this is the latest data from World Bank's Women, Business and the Law database. Out of 190 plus countries around the world, 115 economies are still having laws preventing women from running a business the same way as men do. 167 countries have at least one law that restricts women's economic opportunity. How does Indonesia fare in this sense? So based on the 2018 data, still less than half of women, even though educated, are in the workforce, so less than half. And then out of this less than half, 26% of them are mostly in the informal sector or house industry sector. And if we look at the skills that women have, 89%, which is quite alarming, and a majority are low or medium skilled female workers, and that makes about 43 million people in the country. This is why opportunities are important, policies are important. Next, please. So when we look at the strands of policies, as an association, we also look at what the rest of the world are doing. So in 2017, there's a high-level panel on women's economic empowerment, and there are 7 drivers of change, and that includes everything from adverse rooms for promoting positive models. There are also ensuring legal practices, recognizing and reducing redistribution of unpaid work and care. Women are also having a lot of barriers in building assets, both digital, financial, and property assets. And there are many other strands of policies that we need to start looking into. And there are enabling environments that we have to work together as an ecosystem, as an association. Next, please. At Apindo, for example, when we look at financial capability, we talked about financials earlier today. When we look at the capability, at the moment we also have compounded challenges. For example, the literacies are not enough. The digital literacies are not enough, making digital financial capability still a lot of challenges. But we can start looking at the possible solution enablers where we look at financial literacy programs that both the government, private sector, and even investors are having. There are institutional barriers that the government is starting to work upon, and we look into data, especially aggregated data, where a lot of the male and female databases are being segregated, and we look into ecosystems and also social constraints. So there are possible solutions, even though the problems are in multiple folds. Next, please. So then, even if we work towards the policies of making women more equitable, making women more capable, when we look at today's challenges, it's not just about the bias of male and female situations. When we look at the digital landscape, this is an example of data collected by online or app-based digital credit companies. When we look at this data, there are a lot of data that are not women-driven. For example, worldwide, a lot of women still don't have internet access. More than 1.7 billion don't own a mobile phone. So even if you collect the data are still very much male-driven. And then 57% of women globally have a financial account, but then it's against 64% of men. So when we talk about breaking the bias, and this year's theme for International Women's Day is Break the Bias, we still have to think about also the algorithmic biases that we are also developing in today's economy. Next, please. So at Apindo, this is a framework that we have when we build the capacities of SMEs. Out of the 30,000 SMEs that are in our network, we look at different phases of entrepreneurial journey, we look at different competency levels, and we work towards having a combination of core competencies, technicals, and also behavioral. This would also place women entrepreneurs in a position where they can also influence a lot of the policies that are happening around them. So some of them are starting the journey as an entrepreneur, some of them are growing, and then also a lot of them are also looking forward into being part of digital value chains. Next, please. As a priority in Indonesia, what we've observed is that education is a priority nationwide. So 12 years of basic education is mandatory, healthcare means nutrition, and also caring for their families becomes less of a burden. And then there are also labor policies where we see women being part of the labor market, being professionals, and we see more women entering more professional roles. At Apindo ourselves, for example, around 20 to 30% of our organizational committees are also held by women. But there's also something that's quite important, which is the violence prevention, whether it's personally at home, socially in the community, or also at work. And these are the 4 priorities in Indonesia that we're working together with the ecosystem. Next, please. But the question we need to ask ourselves is not just about developing these women entrepreneurs' capabilities, but also asking, are we doing enough to make sure that women participate in global value chains, regardless whether they are in small businesses, medium businesses, or large businesses? And there are a series of other questions that we need to ask ourselves, which earlier it's been addressed throughout this evening as well. Next, please. And some of these questions around the policy making: A, are we using macroeconomic policy levers to empower women? Are we devoting adequate budgetary resources to improve these opportunities? Are we facilitating the creation of decent work? If women go into the workforce, can they stay and grow within the workforce? Are we safeguarding a greater collective voice for women in shaping the economic policy itself? And what's more important today is, are we future-proofing women's inclusion, including the wave of Society 4.0, 5.0, and this is where digital transformation is also important for women. So as an organization, what we try to do is address some of these questions. We work with different partners, and we work not just in the capital or large cities in Indonesia, but we also work across the provinces, districts, and rural areas. Next, please. And that's my presentation, and hopefully we can have the policy discussion later on.
Do you any slide in here that you haven't presented to us?
No, I think we've covered. I think we've covered a lot of questions, and I'm sure
yeah, we already have a lot of
questions.
Well. Thank you, of course, Lizia, SME Committee from Apindo. So we have several questions from participants in here. I will deliver to our speakers. And the first question is from Ministry of Manpower in here to Ms. Marta Perez-Cuso. How is the strategy to increase women entrepreneurs' digital financial literacy, in your opinion? Ms. Marta?
Yeah, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, how is the strategy to increase women entrepreneurs' digital financial literacy?
As a government, you may want to consider how to promote digital financial skills through your financial education and through digital education. It stands in between both areas, and there are a number of efforts and policies or strategies that one may want to focus. First will be dedicated programs to women and to women entrepreneurs. You may want to include modules for the financial literacy in your basic general education programs. And you may want to incorporate the financial elements in any digital education program. And of course, within programs that support women's entrepreneurs.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Marta. You will give another opinion, or maybe you agree with her?
I think with digital literacy, we have multiple problems. Like earlier, when Diana was sharing, sometimes women have to share devices. Even the digital literacy, they have to share with the children or the family as well. It is a challenge, but we do find opportunities that now women are using more technology as we would our earlier generations. So there is room for us to grow in that space.
Yeah, there is an increasing, but still need mentoring and another kind of thing. So the literacy is being good for us.
Yes.
So this is a question for you, Licia. What collaboration are done by women in business associations to improve the community's economy during the current COVID-19 pandemic?
Right. This takes me back to the earlier days of the pandemic. At the association, what we started doing earlier was publishing a slate of health protocols, which would help people in service industries, your barber shops, your small mom and pop shops. So we try to publish that as a collaborative effort. And we also work with associations. For example, at the moment, we're working with the Wellness and Healthcare Entrepreneurs Association to open up markets where women already have a market for that, but it's also extending that market, extending that opportunity to other women whose businesses may have been affected. So as an association, we always try to work with each other and making sure that we pay it forward to other women who are less fortunate than us.
Okay. Ms. Marta, is there any experience in your country about the experience? Can you show the question again, please? Now, Ms. Marta, is there any experience about the collaboration are done by women in business association to improve the community's economy during the current COVID-19 pandemic in your country and your experience, of course?
I'm sure that there are experience of women supporting each other. I've seen close experience of supporting of social enterprises who have been severely affected during the crisis because on one hand their business opportunities were cut off, and also they were receiving less grants to be able to provide services. And I've seen a network of those social enterprises working together to help each other to pivot their business models and to be able to find a new business model to survive at least during the COVID-19.
Yeah, so if I can say, networking is the key, right, Marta?
It's one of the elements, it's not enough.
Yeah.
We also need finance. We also need enabling regulatory environments that eliminate the barriers for women to participate in equal footing. So yes, networking, sisterhoods, sharing experience is important, but we also need the legal framework and access to finance.
So if I can underline, sisterhood is not only about gossiping, but it's also about taking care of each other business, just like that. Licia.
Yeah, so it's also about advocating for better policies than women. We see a lot more women's representation in governments, in parliament, and that actually certainly helped. Earlier, Ana Maria and Marta both mentioned about financial ecosystems and then regulatory ecosystems. So we as an association also work with the government informing what other policies that we need, what other even regulatory barriers that we need to have innovation both in a digital space and also financial services that may be able to do that. Sure, we gossip as we do our advocacy work, but at the same time, there are serious things that we do need to put in place. We need new laws, especially those that are keeping up with the level of innovation that we see both in the financial instruments and also the digital tools that women are exposed to these days.
Sharing about knowledge in technology and digital literacy that you mentioned before, it's really needed for women.
It is, absolutely. And we can share easier because, between you and I and Marta and Ana Maria, even though we're in different countries, we're now connected. We can share each other's experiences and also how we experience technology along the way.
Okay. I want to ask about the closing statement for point of view about our sub-theme, regulatory environment for women entrepreneurs empowerment. Licia first.
For environmental, I think what we're seeing is a movement towards more environmentally friendly solutions. But sustainable finance is also about the social environment and how the governance of that environment work. And more women are also more aware about the products that they use, the services that they use, partly possibly because of that nurturing role that women have, but also at the same time keeping up with the latest trends, keeping up with the opportunities now that the world is moving towards ESG-driven investments, that environmentally friendlier solutions are put in place. So women do need to catch up, do need to keep up with these opportunities, but along the way it's not often that easy because they do need to pivot from something, say for example, from less environmentally friendly solutions to something of a substitute. But that exposure and that knowledge of having that ability to pivot is something that women are taking part. And it's not always as easy as well because the regulatory framework then comes back into place and say, oh, you can't do that because we don't have the pieces of regulation to enable women to take part in that as well.
Not only the national regulation, but also the district regulation, because the centralization is another issue for us in here.
Absolutely. So decentralization, all the way to village level, there are complexities there, and even the leaders at rural governments also need to keep up with these kind of like a gender lens way of looking at things.
Yeah. Still many homework for us. Okay. So, Ms. Marta, closing statement from you?
So for me, if I can bring the attention to the inclusive business as in the definition of the G20, so businesses that are commercially viable and focus on including low-income groups and marginalized groups in the value chain. I really think we have to start focusing on being inclusive of women, but also particularly low-income women. And policies that promote inclusive and sustainable businesses are one of the mechanisms to support more inclusive business. And we've seen a very good experience in ASEAN, at the ASEAN level, and we would like to see continued support for the promotion of inclusive business in ASEAN and beyond.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Marta Perez-Cuso from UNSCAP, and also Licia Ayarsa from SME Committee Apindo. If I can underline, this is a moment to move, to build environment that friendly to women, to empower each other so they can increase and develop their business, of course. So thank you once again, Ms. Marta, Ms. Licia Ayarsa, and of course, Ms. Anna Maria Tartaglia, W20 delegate from Italy. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
That's our last session in today's seminar, and to all participants, that concludes our event today, and I would like to convey a summary and conclusion of all the points we have touched on today. In order to empower women SMEs, based on Indonesia's best practice, we can conclude and recommend that strengthen the ecosystem for women-owned business can help to leverage the profit to a better market access, of course. Most of women entrepreneurs in Indonesia have already aware on SDGs, especially in environmental issues. The third one, in general, we still need making program to increase digital and financial literacy for women so they can increase the investment readiness level. The fourth, in the future, the policy in finance and infrastructure needs to be more gender sensitive. And the other recommendation, promoting inclusive business can increase and sustain women entrepreneurs. The last one, in order to do so, investing on education for women and girls, including early education, STEM, digital and financial literacy, and vocational training can help women to have more access and opportunity to empower nation's economy. So, ladies and gentlemen, all participants, just I would like to thank to all speakers who have participated and contributed in today's event, and also to the stakeholders who have supported this event throughout, and also to all participants who have watched our event via WebEx, Zoom, and also YouTube Kemenkop UKM. A big thanks to all of you. Hopefully today's event can empower us all and also provide support for all SMEs, especially women, so they can rise up and move forward and be beacons of progress to our nation. That is all from us. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Brigita Manohara. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good night and see you. Om Santi 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 Om.